So then I'll hit the record button just so everybody knows. Hey, Hugh.
Hey, the hell do I get?
So just with this number, like Ken, what town are you in, Ken?
Danville,
Danville,
Pennsylvania.
So, yeah, so well, everybody here is Pennsylvania so far. So you guys know where Danville is. And Ken, you do?
I'm a leadership coach, personal coach. My name of my business is right now is Team Building US, and that's my passion. I want to help leaders and others who learn to communicate effectively, especially about listening skills. So that's my passion.
Cool. So you do team building, leadership training, and we met at a networking event. Bill is, I tell you, I'm just going to kind of, most of you guys, some of you guys know each other. Bill and I have been working together for quite a while. He's vice president of sales of a company that sells loads and loads of trailers. So my son, when we go down the road, he sees Utility Keystone now, and so he gets all stoked. He's like, "Isn't that your client?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's Bill Zimmer's trailer." So they sell trailers, box trailers, reefer trailers, and intermodal chassis to carry the big containers and all that kind of thing, plus do service. And Bill buys me lunch. I'm really looking forward to getting back to coaching live with Bill because they have a cafe and I get lunch. And when we do Zoom coaching, I don't get lunch anymore. Anything else you want to add, Bill?
No, that's good.
Awesome. Brad Mullen is like the most amazing realtor ever in the world. Used to have a race car that had his realty info on it, so everybody would know him in the neighborhood. And yeah, also went turkey hunting with us at Business Builder Camp and got one at the 11th hour. Stayed out there and gutted it out. And anything else, Brad?
I'm a real estate investor. That's another big part of what I do.
Properties.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. In Orrigsburg, Pennsylvania. Hugh
Mostly.
is, what's that?
Yeah, mostly Orrigsburg.
Hugh is a recruiter who does does search assignments for a variety of industries and is from the Lehigh Valley, Allentown area, and also posts like the greatest grilling pictures ever. Hugh bought beef as well. It's been fun doing a little bit of selling of meat. It's been a few years since I've done that. So anything else you want to add to that, Hugh?
I think you hit it. I grill and I recruit.
Grill and recruit. What else is there? Not a lot. And Dan, you know Dan, and some of you guys, Bill and Brad got to go to lunch with Dan, so you've heard some of these things before. But Dan and I spent about 45 minutes earlier today, starting at 10 o'clock, and Dan is not only is he probably the only guy I know well who's been on a reality TV show, but also I've had a chance to go to Dan's survival class, bushcraft class. Thomas loves Dan and everything about what he does. So we had his birthday party at Appalachian Bushman School last year. And I'm a fan of Dan and what he's done. I mean, I think the survival stuff is cool in the or useful in the current situation. Like what would go on if you're out in the bush for 51 days with only fish to eat. I think that's pertinent to the current situation and just like dealing with uncertainty and lockdown. But beyond that, Dan has built this business that he created, like dreamed up, and has 110,000 YouTube followers, has schools, has those live events. Plus, you're in your shop today, Dan, and Dan gave me a virtual tour earlier and talked about what he was doing there. And oh, that was one of the takeaways from our conversation. You're going to do videos in the shop and show people what you do, right? So
yeah.
Anyway, take it away. You're up.
Yeah, so I told Wayne when I was just talking to him, he said that he loved the shop. So I literally, when I started my business, I was on my kitchen table with like a notepad. Like that was how my business started. So now this is where, I don't want to say make everything because we're slowly moving everything into this shop. So we don't have because we make knives, we're making axes now, blacksmiths, so stuff like that. That's not here yet, but it's slowly getting moved in. So the shop itself is in Frackville, Pennsylvania. So warehouse space. Most of our leather work and sew projects and stuff like that. Shipping all takes place here. And then upstairs we have more space for shipping stuff. Product things up all along this wall here. And then we have a sew area. So this is our sew shop where we make tarps and survival shelters and bags and pouches and backpacks and stuff like that. So that's where I operate, other than the woods most of the time. So that's what I'm doing. But like Wayne said, so I run a survival school. I do YouTube. And then we also have our online sales, which has dramatically picked up over the last 2 months. And I think a lot has to do with the current situation of what's going on. People are stuck at home. So they're just online buying stuff. And a lot of it has to do with we get so many emails every day about people worried like this is the end of the world kind of thing. So what are they going to actually do? So, yeah, so that's a little bit about myself. How I got into all of it is I started out, I worked in the juvenile justice field for 10 years. And it was boring. I wasn't too into it, but that's what I went to school for. So I sort of just was there. And then for some excitement in my life, I was taking survival courses at different schools. And I always hunted, trapped, fished, stuff like that. And while I was working, I started to teach a little bit on the side, some survival stuff. And then I ultimately got laid off. The facility downsized, closed. And it just so happened right after that, I got a call from the History Channel about being on a show alone. So I got sent down to Patagonia, South America, and I was there by myself with my cameras for 51 days. And if you've never seen the show, the whole purpose of it is they throw 10 people out at these different locations in the woods, and you're supposed to stay as long as you can with minimal stuff. So I only have these 10 items. I have my camera gear, and I got to stay out there. So I managed. I was there, like I said, 51 days out in the Patagonia wilderness by myself. It was wintertime there, so it was nice and cold while I was there. I only ate 9 fish the whole time I was there, so I did starve pretty good. I lost 54 pounds while I was out there. And the next question people usually say, well, did you win? Unfortunately, I didn't win. But I like to think I'm still a winner just for the simple fact I gained so much out of that experience. And while I was there, it was like literally 51 days to brainstorm and outline what I want this business to look like. And I sort of got super excited now that I look back at it. I was so excited to get this going. I think that was a little bit of a factor for me to actually like get out of there. I mean, I did miss my family. I was sick of the production people, and I can tell you a quick production story if you want to hear it. How crazy those people are. But yeah, so I ended up, at the end of the day, I was starving to death. So that was pretty tough, not eating for 6, 7, 8, 9 days at a time, and then only eating one fish and going right back to it. So I had that going on at the time. So am I muted, Wayne, or am I good?
I screwed up. I muted everybody, including you, and
Okay.
then I unmuted you, and then I think you re-hit the button. So
Am I
right
good
now, it's just you and I. So
Okay.
you have to do the production story, and that's my fault. So
Okay. Yeah. So where I was at, I don't know. I was just like a quick segment of the unmute thing. So I ended up leaving because I was starving. I missed my family. My kid was only 2 years old. And then I did have this lying excitement just to go and get this business started. So, so it was great being out there at the time. Even now, I would never do a reality show again in that like a contest reality show. I would definitely do a show again because it was fun. Contest reality show. Now I don't think I'd ever do that again, especially that it sucked to starve and I love to eat food way too much. So yeah, so production, I'll tell you this story. And if the two guys that I was at your meeting with heard this, I apologize because I tell this story quite often. So when I got done and I had to call in the production to tell them that I'm done, they said, all right, we're going to send a team out, like the rescue team in a sense. I said, well, can you send a candy bar? Because I didn't eat for so many days, like just something. And I just wanted a candy bar at this point. So the production team gets out there. They pull in with the boat, and I'm fine. I mean, there was no danger. And they were wrapping like one of the space blankets, like the silver space blankets around me, like almost like I'm going to fall over at any second with death. And I'm like, all I want is my candy bar. And they're like, we don't have a candy bar. What do you mean a candy bar? So they're trying to give me this hot soup broth. Well, I just drank like fish bone and fish head soup broth for like 51 days because I would keep the heads and just keep boiling them and drinking it. So I did not want like hot soup broth. So I'm complaining pretty good to him. We get on a boat, from the boat to a four-wheeler to another boat to get to the final extraction where they put me in the car and take me into town. And the one safety guy gives me this big bag of raisins, and he's like, hey, here's from my personal stash. I was like, oh, great. So I eat this. It's like 1.5 pounds of raisins. I'm just housing these raisins. And when we finally get to the last part that they're going to drive me back into town, I get with the next portion of the safety team, and the safety guy's like, oh, all right, we're going to send you off with these production assistants. They're going to take you, get you cleaned up, and get you something to eat. We highly recommend that you watch your sugar intake so your body doesn't go into shock. And I was like, oh, what happens then? And he's like, well, it could be really bad, hospitalization, death. I was like, well, your buddy on the rescue team over there just gave me 1.5 pounds of raisins to eat. Am I going to die? And he's like, don't worry about the sugar thing. You'll be okay. And I was like, well, am I going to die or what's happening here? So I'm literally in a panic now because I didn't eat for days. So immediately, you know, when somebody tells you the placebo effect, well, there's full effect with me. I'm like, I'm dying. I'm taking my pulse. I'm like, I think I'm sweating in the back seat of this car. So we're going, I'm complaining again to the production assistants. So it was about an hour in a Bariloche. That's the town they were taking me in to stay and get cleaned up in the hotel. So we're going. Now, you need to remember, so I lost 54 pounds. I look like a skeleton, and I'm filthy dirty because I've been out in the woods. Other than I had to get in the lake 2 times while I was there because there were fish tangled up on logs like further out. So I actually got in. It was pretty cold, but I survived it, of course. So I was still really dirty. It was rainy and muddy the day I left. And then I had my big backpack with my items. So I had my sleeping bag and stuff in there, but I looked terrible. So the reason I say that is because we're driving on the main highway in the Bariloche, and we keep hitting these like little, they look like turnpike booths, but they look more military, like a military installation, like you're trying to get in a military compound, barbed wire and stuff. And I said to the production people, I said, now this is on top of me thinking that I'm going to die from sugar and all the raisins. I said, what are all of these barricades? Like, why do we keep going through? They're like, oh, this is a huge drug corridor. They run drugs through here, so we are always getting stopped by the military and police, and they check our vehicles. I said, well, what happens during the check? They said, well, they usually get us out of the car, they check our car, they check our IDs, they check our passports. And I said, oh, well, where's my passport? Do you have that? Dead silence in the car. They don't have a passport. I don't have it because they had me out in the woods. So I'm like, well, you don't have my passport? So I go, not only am I dying now from the raisins and the high sugar, but now I'm also going to be in an Argentinian prison because they don't have any of my IDs. So they're like, oh, there's only 2 more checkpoints. You should be fine. I'm like, should be fine, and not like this is not going to be good. I can't even defend myself. I'm so weak when I go to prison here in Argentina. I'm like, I look like a drug mule. I look like a drug mule. So their idea was if they see the checkpoint up ahead has guards at it, they're going to pull the car over and have me jump out and hide in the woods because they said I have my stuff anyway with me to live in the woods, so I might as well I could stay on the side of the road hidden until they can come back with my ID and they'll get me. So I'm like, no way. I'll go to prison before this because that's going to turn out way worse than anything else. So luckily, we didn't hit any checkpoints that had guards at. We got all the way through. They pull up to the hotel that I was supposed to go to, which it doesn't look like a local Marriott at all there. It sort of looks like a house that's a little bit oversized. They send me in, and it was the wrong hotel. So the guy at the counter, he's going to call, he's yelling, Policia, Policia, and I had to run out of that place. So production is total mayhem. It's absolutely crazy when it comes to dealing with production. So that's my quick little story about being out there.
Hey, so when you're at the lake and it's like day you're there for 51 days and it's day 30. What is that? What is that day like? Like, what do you wake up, you got nothing to do exactly.
Hmm. So
What's
here's
a
what,
routine? How do you get through that?
well, it's weird you say day 30 because there's only a couple days I like can solidly remember. And day 30, I didn't have a breakdown, but day 30, I was at my wit's end. Like I was probably the first time out of those 30 days, I was like, I just want to go home because I was to the point then I was like, not too many people can stay out here for 30 days under these conditions and the amount of food that I have. And I just want to be out of here. Like it's not fun anymore. I'm not having a good time. I don't care about winning. I just want to be out of here. So I had to talk myself off that cliff a little bit. But my normal day, I'd get up in the morning. I would make my campfire because I would let that go out at night. I wasn't too concerned with having to get that started. I'd start my campfire. I'd boil water and drink water just to try to fill me up a little bit. I would get more firewood. I would dig for bait because everything was frozen. So you'd have to dig down about a foot and you'd find these little white grubs or worms. And that's what I would use for my fishing bait. And then I'd go down, I'd check all my fishing lines, rebait them. And then I'd usually hang out down by the lake, throw my lines in. And I tried to stay scheduled because I've been doing this now my whole life as far as breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I'd still go make a pot of water for lunch, which is crazy to think like this is what I'm supplementing food is just a pot of hot water. But I would do that. I would check my fishing lines again in the evening. And then I would try to do a project throughout the afternoon. So if it was anything little, as far as make a door for my shelter, or I made like a calendar because for some reason it was driving me insane and I didn't know what day of the week it was. Like I knew how many days I was there, but I would always forget what day of the week it is. So I had to make a calendar to keep track of that, to keep my mind occupied. But I was getting, by the end, after day 30, I was starting to get so run down at even small tasks. Like I couldn't chop down a tree. I couldn't, move around all that much because I was wore out from no energy.
Gotcha. So I wouldn't make this more conversational. You guys have any questions or anything you want to chime in about? And if you do, I'll hit the unmute thing.
Hey, Dan, it's Ken. What I've always thought about this is I watch these reality shows a lot about survivors and stuff like that. Did you? I'm always concerned about people going on acquired medication, for any reason whatsoever here. Are you allowed to bring stuff like that along with you, or are you just saying, okay, this is what you have to take and that's it, and you just survive on what you bring?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when they do the screening process for the show itself, they ask you if you're on medication. They say that if you're on any kind of medication, insulin or anything like that for heart problems, that you will be provided your medication while you're out there. The reality is, though, it usually makes it as far as my ship that I was on, nobody had any medical condition. So that was like a no actor thing. They say that so they legally don't get in trouble, but they never pick somebody with medical problems.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So real quick again, how did you get? You said they contacted. Did you have to apply to be on the show?
Sent in when I saw I was on season 3. On season 1, the second episode I was watching, I thought, oh, I could definitely do this because I was already teaching survival at another school. And I went on the history website and they had like a little questionnaire you fill out. And as soon as I submitted it, I got an auto return email that was like, casting for season 2 is closed. We'll contact you in the future if needed. And then when they finally got a hold of me, they outsource everything to production companies that run it. So it's Left Field Production. Left Field Production got a hold of me, and they said that they found me on YouTube because they go out and they try to search people. So it was through YouTube they found me, and when they contact me a second time. So I'm assuming it's the application you fill out gets lost in a shuffle because there's so many people sending stuff in.
Well, I know you had a grand prize you had to win, but did they compensate you for any of the time that you were out there?
Yeah. So while you're there, everybody gets a weekly stipend, and the weekly stipend worked out to I don't remember what it was. It worked out if you would have stayed there for a year, you would have made like $70,000.
Wow.
So whatever, yeah, and that was whatever, I don't know what that breaks, 70,000 divided by, 52 weeks, whatever that was your weekly stipend. It got auto deposited to your account back home. So it wasn't like you were out there,
Awesome.
nothing's happening. You were still doing pretty good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank
So what's
you.
going on with the current, like, you've been on the TV, like people are into prepping, people are,
Yeah.
how's that affected things?
Well, good from a business standpoint because people are more interested in this stuff that I do right now. But a lot of people, so it's weird because I'm getting all different kinds of calls. I'm getting calls about a lot of like newspapers and stuff. Look, they're like, "Do you live in a bunker? Because we want to come and interview you." I'm like, "No, I don't live in a bunker. I run a school and a business. I'm a normal person. I go home at night unless I'm just staying out." So I think the biggest thing that I try to share with people whenever they call, I feel like I did so many newspaper interviews over the last like month with things, has been that the things that we don't have right now are literally luxury items because we can still go get food. It might be not the exact food you want, but we can get food. We all have access to water and we all are home. So we didn't lose any of that stuff. And when you come out to a class with mine or we teach survival, it's all about fire, water, shelter, and food. If you have those things, everything else is a luxury. So we struggle, and I was dying with the whole toilet paper craze when this first kicked in because everybody needed toilet paper real bad because they were going to die if they didn't have the toilet paper, at their house. And listen, my wife is no different. She's like, she better go get toilet paper. I'm like, you're a psychopath, number one, because, we're going to get by without toilet paper if we need it, but it ends up you can get the toilet paper. But if you really boil it down to life, it really just comes down, can you keep yourself protected from the elements, stay warm or stay cool? Can you eat and can you drink water? If you can do that, you can live. Everything else we have, our computers, our cars, our toilet paper, literally are luxury items. We can make do without all that stuff if needed and still live.
Brad or Hugh, anybody?
I don't have any questions. I have been spending rainy days over the last 2 months watching your videos, though.
Oh, good. Thank you.
How did you, so talk a bit more about like when you started having this in your mind to form a business, and you're like creating this on your legal pad. How did you then take the first step? You're smiling, so that's good. So whatever you got, talk about.
Well, I was laughing because you weren't allowed pencil or paper out there. So literally I'd have to memorize this stuff. And every night, because I'm just laying there in my sleeping bag, I would like run through. I'm like, okay, this is what my basic class is going to be like. This is what my advanced class is going to be like. This is what I'm going to sell at my shop. Like I would run through this every night. So when I finally had access to my legal pad that first night, which they gave me this like little scrap of paper like this. So I'm like super little, and I have it hung up back home because I laugh looking at it all the time now. Like that was sort of my layout. I got off topic there though for a second. So what did you say that question one more time now, Wayne?
Well, no, that was fine. So you're out there, you had no paper and pencil, and you're starting to think about business.
Where did I start? Yeah. So I literally, when it comes to almost anything that I do with my business, I don't say anything because it makes me sound like I'm some random rebel. But I was in the airport and I thought I just need to start taking action because everything's scary when you're doing it for the first time in your business. I think no matter who you are, if you're taking this big plunge into something, you can make your best guess of is it going to work or not, but you don't know at the end of the day. So I was in the airport. I emailed the website guy because I thought, well, I need a website so people can go to and see what's going on. And I didn't have a skill set to be able to build that. So I emailed the website guy. And then I started going down my list of what products I wanted to carry. And I was finding places because originally I just resold a lot of products. So I was listing all that. I was emailing all those places. And then that got the ball rolling. And then I just kept trying to move forward from there. And probably one of the hardest things for me was the social media because I hated social media when I started all of it. Like I did YouTube, but I just didn't. I was like, I'm not good at this. I didn't like Instagram, Facebook. I was like, I don't really like it. And then, so that was at the beginning, I really didn't have much else going on. I was trying to have a lot of stuff going on, but we made the website. Now I got to figure out how to get business. And that was how I got my business, was I have to pump out YouTube videos, and I better like doing it. So that, I think, though, helped me a lot with my business, in the fact that social media can be brutal in a sense that people are just ignorant and rude. So you got to get past that. So that toughens you up and toughens up your skin a lot. And then I also think that it really forced me to do what I wanted, like do what I like. Because for me at least, if I was on YouTube and I was putting videos out to think, well, how am I going to make everybody else happy? Them videos were terrible. So it really quickly, it made me realize what do I like? What is my goal here? And I would just focus on that and do that. And it worked really well for me. So now I'm over, like Wayne said, 112,000 subscribers, I think, today, or 111,000. So, I mean, that grew tremendously.
It was 110 when I looked a few days ago. And It's funny because I kept rooting for you and hoping you're like, Dan got to get to 100. Dan has to get to 100. Now it's like, oh, and then for my next trick, I just get an easy another 10,000, like nothing.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard. We all have those things where you have a breakthrough and then it lets loose a little bit. So what if we, so Dan, I'm so glad that you're part of my like business coaching, life coaching world, my camp. And you and I were earlier today working on you and your business a little bit and getting caught up. Why don't we turn this, can we turn this into a little bit of like, tell us where you're at with your business, and like, you're not stuck for sure, but so that's not the right word, but we all have, including me, there's like resistance, or we're like most of us are trying to get to the next thing. We're trying to create something new, keep growing. It's fun to grow. We could stay exactly where we're at, but it's fun to create and grow and have something to look forward to. So would you mind like telling everybody like just a bit, and then we'll turn to like a little bit of a mastermind forum, like ask some questions. Where are you at and what's next? What's that like?
Yeah. So like I said, when I started with my notepad on my kitchen table and I had nothing, I have all these little growth spurts, and this is just another growth spurt over the time. So now I'm at the point, I'm not just, when I was at that table, it was like, is this going to work? Then it was this growth of, okay, it's working, but how long can I sustain it? Now I'm at the point, I'm like, okay, this is just my business. This is what I do. This is what I'll do for a living, and I'm going to make it work. But how do I make it better and bigger? So right now, so revenue wise, of course, I talked about all these a little bit. I have the school and my courses, and I have my online sales, so all my retail stuff, and then I have my YouTube. So of those things, it's always been, from when I started, a balancing act for me to be able to do each one. Because I can't just all day, every day do YouTube and editing. I can't all day just do my retail sales and try to just make product and turn product over. So everything's working, but I got to balance all that working. So last year I did really well, better than I did since the business started, which is good. This year I'm doing even better. The biggest downfall I faced, though, is I do a lot of work at the end of the year, this time of the year, with schools, summer camps, and like youth groups, literally gone because everything's locked down and shut down. So that's all lost revenue. But that lost revenue was literally made up because my online sales through the roof, that I can probably be here 20 hours a day and still not be caught up. There's days we're sending 40 to 50 orders a day out, which is huge for us. I've never had that before. Like, we had Black Friday, we'd send out like 30, 40 orders over that, but now it's daily. It's that. So the increase has been tremendous. And I make almost all my products, other than a few odds and ends and a couple companies that I do like ambassadorships and stuff that I work with. I sell some of their products. So most of the stuff I have to make. So where I'm at right now with everything, and my next little hurdle in the business world, is to go from, I was managing all this myself. There was a lot of work and I was putting a ton of time in, and I'm fine with that. That doesn't bother me, but it's getting to the point that I can't manage it now myself. I do, but I could see I'm putting so much time in here that my YouTube is sort of slacking, even though I have done 10,000 extra subscribers we're talking about. I want my videos to be better. I want to put better content out. So that's sort of like, it's just there, and I'm getting out the videos I need to get out because I need to put more time in here, but I need to find that balance again. So I don't know. And this is what I was talking to Wayne about. Do I need to finally hire somebody? And what is that going to look like? Because that's new to me. So that's scary to me now, to have to pay somebody to be here, and what's that performance going to be like? And that's money out of my pocket that's going to go to somebody else. And so we need to look at that. Or is it to just contract these little part-time people to help me edit or help me create products or do whatever? So that's sort of where I'm at now. It's like the next stage and next growth period in my business that I need to handle. And I'm not nervous to do any of it. I don't know what to do next. That's sort of where I'm at with it.
Brad, do you have any ideas or feedback? If somebody recently went through that same kind of decision, hire somebody, overwhelmed.
Yeah, it was a really good decision to hire somebody. We, me and a couple other my staff said, I don't know what we did without Lisa before we hired her. It was a really good move. So I was trying to do everything myself, and it was unrealistic to think that I could keep doing that. So there's no growth. There wouldn't have been any more growth, I don't think, if I would have kept on that path I was on. So,
what were the kind of things that were stacking up in your life or your business, Brad?
Well, I mean, I felt like I was at a point where my quality of service would start to suffer some if I didn't hire somebody, because just the time and I was spending so much time doing things that I could delegate to somebody else, and I should be delegating to somebody else, because it wasn't what really made me money. It had to be done, but it wasn't a revenue generating activity. So, I hired that one support staff, and it made a big difference.
Hugh, did you ever have full-time? Oh, sorry. We'll get the mute. You're good now. Now you're there.
Did I have what? I'm sorry.
So have you hired? Did you have admin staff?
Here's what I could share that's relevant, I think, is that, we had started, my wife and I started this business 6 years ago. I was working full-time at it and in it. She was working part-time in almost an administrative capacity for us, but I'd say 25, 30 hours a week, she was working for clients of ours, because that supplemented some revenue for us. Well, I got the business to the point where, I think where Brad was, where, you got to make a move. I was going to have to hire someone else to help me do what we needed to do to keep servicing our clients. And when I got to that point, I said to my wife, I said, look, you're more talented than anyone I'm going to pay. Plus you have more skin in the game, and let me train you up to be more of a revenue producer and do a full cycle recruiting desk, both developing clients as well as candidates. And let's do that rather than me pay someone basically the money that we're taking in from you working part-time for a client and me paying it out the door to someone else. Let's invest that money in you, get you up to speed, and it's really paid off. She's taken off in that role. And now, again, we were probably 3 to 6 months away from facing another position like that to add to the two of us. Now, things took a little step to the side, but I do fully anticipate we're going to be revisiting this perhaps before the end of the year. So we've kind of done this, and we're probably staring down the same barrel.
You moved, Brad. The screen moved, and
Yeah,
it threw me off, man. Like
my iPad's telling me I have 10% battery. I'm gonna plug in. Just give me a minute.
So, thanks, Hugh.
Sure.
And what Dan and I were talking about earlier was, or before this call, I think when I look at Dan and what he's doing and these different channels of business or revenue, what I start to think about is the YouTube channel, Dan, it's growing. So it goes from 100 to 110,000 like that, relative, a whole lot easier than it was, I'll bet, to get your first 10,000 followers. So there could be this like demand coming, right? And if you stimulate it and make the right offers, it could really come. So the question is always, when people go to hire their first employee, or like Bill hired an assistant, even in his, so he's got he's on the leadership team of this big company. But Bill, when you hired an assistant, it's like this feeling of, what would I be able to do if I got some help? So for Dan, for you, it's what would be possible if you had more creative time? What would be possible if you could craft some more knives and or train somebody? Well, I guess we already have the knife maker, but train somebody to make even more. It's like I've heard it described as a mix, the mixing board, where it's like sliding up the different volume controls, and it's like you hire somebody and then it costs money, so it's coming out of cash flow, so you have to be careful and balance that. But then it frees you up to do more marketing and ask more people to buy, and so it's like you're trying to plan for something that isn't perfectly clear. That's always the challenge of building a business, is you guys are all running with, it's like driving in the fog, where you kind of see where you're going, right? But you can't nail it down. Sometimes you got to make a leap to do it.
Yeah, the money thing was a concern for me too, just hiring somebody else, but I don't even notice it. I haven't even noticed an impact on my revenue by having this extra employee. If anything, she's probably made us more productive and make more money. I haven't sat down and figured out exactly what she added, but the fact that I don't notice the $800 a week she's costing me makes me believe that was well worth it. So
Bill, is there anything you want to ask a question about anything or add anything to that? I'll unmute you, or try to.
Yeah, Dan, I would look at writing down what your strengths are. Where's your wheelhouse? Where's your passion? Where can you make the most money for your company? And then on the other side of that list, I'd list, what don't you like doing? What aren't you good at? What aren't you efficient at? What aren't you fast at? And in today's market, you'll find someone that will be really, really good at the stuff that you're really, really not interested in or not efficient at. And by hiring that person, then it allows you to do what you're doing best and where your passion lies. That would be my suggestion or recommendation. And Wayne's really good at helping you outline that. We just hired a sales manager, so I got out of that role. So now I'm just overseeing 2 managers and help training our 8 sales reps is what I like doing. I don't like doing paperwork. I don't like doing all the admin. So I can delegate all that, and it allows me to work on the big projects.
I'll take some credit. Dan doesn't weed eat anymore. Somebody else weed eats.
Yeah, for the guys that were at our meeting, what was that, a year ago, I guess, almost now?
I think it was spring.
I was hung
May.
up on the weed whacking because nobody could cut the grass or weed whack good enough for me, but we got over that. So we have people taking care of that now. So I don't have to deal with it.
Yeah. Last week, I think it was last week on Monday, I did a call with Hugh may have been there. I think Hugh was there. And we were talking about visioning. So like having a 3-year vision, looking out 3 years. And one of the things that people shared is that it's really hard right now with like coronavirus lockdown, whatever it is. It's harder to visualize and have a vision than it was, 6 months ago. And so Dan, you were saying on our prior call that, wow, if I had the classes going and I had these kind of online orders going, you described it like that. Like Dan said that he got like amped up when you said that. And then I said, are you sure? Is that what you want? You go, yeah, that's what I want. Because not everybody does. Like sometimes people grow their business and they're like, good, like this is good the way it is, and I wouldn't want to add more stress. But you were pretty fired up about it. So even though it's hard to visualize right now, like if you were to look out 3 years from now in 2023, what might be possible? What would be like freaking amazing? What could happen in 3 years that you'd be like, yeah, this is how it went. So it's like, what's your mission that is so powerful that's nothing going to stop you? Where could it go in 3 years?
You want me to figure that out right now, Wayne? Well, I mean, I think that, man, I feel like you put me on the spot. I'm kidding. No, I think when I look at like 3 years down, I mean, it is very hard to figure that out. Not even coronavirus wise, because if I look 3 years back to here, like it's insane where I came to. But that does help me. Just you saying that when I think that 3-year plan, because I did have that written down here to lay that out. We were talking about employees and stuff and lay that out financially. But when I think about it in the context of what's happening in the classes and the retail stuff, I could see myself right away. And this goes back to what Bill was just saying. I don't want to keep sewing all our products. I don't want to keep blacksmithing everything. But I want to make those new products. I want to be the guy who designs the product, and then I want somebody to take care of the rest. That I don't have to be here doing that actual work for that, because as the YouTube grows and I can put more time into that, a unique thing I think with me, and I could see this in 3 years, is some of the brands that I work with, that growth between me and the brand and how much they're giving me financially to just do a 15-second plug on YouTube has grown exponentially. So over time, as my YouTube channel gets bigger and more, me putting more energy into that gives me more exposure, which gives the business more exposure, which is more product sales. So it goes back to that social media presence and nobody could do that for me. I have to do that. They can help edit, but I'm the one that has to be in the photos. I'm the one that has to do the video, because I can't just hire somebody to be on my video. They want to see me. So I need to be the face of that. So I think that draws a pretty clear picture looking at it that way. If I break those segments down, even classes, I think some of the very basic classes, I don't have to run every aspect of it. I need to be there for parts of it, but I don't need, if it's a navigation clinic, it doesn't need to be me running the whole thing. I can have my guys can run that very easily and teach, and I could be there with the students, and I don't have to have that stress of teaching. Where some of the more advanced stuff that people want to be with me, like I'm into that. I want to be one-on-one with them doing that. So yeah, I think that works a lot, looking at it like that, and then looking again at that strength versus not even weakness, but the strength versus things I just don't want to do.
Right, which is what Bill said. Yeah. And the other part that you and I worked on earlier today is to start doing some 3-year projections down the road of it. So it's mixing. That's the thing about watching people build businesses from my seat. It's this mix of dream and vision and where you're going to go, and you got to have it just takes a lot of almost other people might say foolish optimism, like you can't do that, and yeah, you guys all do that. You guys all make this stuff happen and keep going. So it's a mix of that with the like practicality of penciling out the cash flow, what money is going to come in, when can I hire somebody, how much will I pay. You got to keep both of those things going. Am I the only one to call though? Like I get fired up just watching. I mean, I would get excited when I was working with Brad as he would talk about how he's going to have a house in the Finger Lakes and how he's going to have all these rental properties. So that's cool to hear that. But so I think that for all of you, and Bill's got this trailer dealership, but can you guys like see, like, what do you like Dan, as he starts to think of himself differently or go more into that visionary role and then start to create jobs for people, it's almost limitless what could be possible, because there's a lot of people care about or interested. And I think after coronavirus passes, people are going to be interested in learning survival and bushcraft and things probably more than ever before. What do you guys think? Go ahead, Bill.
So, Dan, if you just sat down and did, a 2-hour strategy session with dreaming big in a 3-year picture. So if you wanted to grow YouTube by 20% for the next 3 years, that's going to take you from 110 to 190,000. But so then you back into it. So what do I need to do weekly, monthly, quarterly to gain that percentage so that I hit 190 in 3 years? So what we've done, my brother and I bought the company from my dad approximately in 2008 with 43 employees, and today we're at 111. So 2.5 years ago, we went to an entrepreneurial operating system because we didn't have one, and it just helps us. It's the skeleton. It outlines, your accountability chart and all the 5 core functions of each job that you want to have, of each job position, so they understand what they're doing. You set up your review process. And then we have a weekly leadership team meeting every Wednesday for an hour and a half, and it outlines the whole agenda. It's called an L10 meeting. So you have 5 minutes for introductions at the beginning, then you have 5 minutes to review your report. So now we have a spreadsheet of everything that we're tracking. So that if we're on an island and we only had one report to look at, that spreadsheet would run our business from anywhere in the US or anywhere in the world. And if it's red, we have to IDS it, which is meaning it's an issue, then we have to discuss it and we have to solve it during that meeting. If it's green, that means we're on target. And then we have boss teams identified with, and then we meet with them and we have them run their meetings similar to our meeting. So now the whole company's running itself instead of running us. And that's where it becomes really a lot of fun. So I'd recommend work with Wayne and figure out what system you're going to use. And then if you stick to that system with laser focus, you're going to have 190 or more YouTube viewers in 3 years, if that's your goal. And it's a lot of fun chasing it.
Yeah, so EOS is a book, right? That Entrepreneur's Operating System is similar to what we were doing with laying out a 3-year, the roadmap, the big plan sheet, and committing to quarterly projects and which projects are you going to
Does that book, what the heck is EOS? Does that lay all that out?
That's the first introduction book, and then once you enroll in the program, then it gives you a whole manual that's 1.5 inches thick.
Okay.
And in that manual, it'll to talk about every tool. Like it teaches us how to run meetings. It does the people analyzer. So now we have a new review process. We do it twice a year, and it's get it, want it, have the capacity, and then you just rate your employee on that. Do they get it? Do they want it? Do they want to do the job? Do they want to be successful? And do they have the capacity to continue to grow their department or grow as a person? And we've had to let people go because they didn't have one of those 3, or they had it when they first started, but then as we grew, they couldn't stay with the company. So we either had to place them in another division or another job, or we had to help them find something else. But it gives you A to Z, step by step on setting up your business operation.
The book Traction by Gino Wickman is the Bible of EOS, or that's where it started. That's the book Traction is where he first laid out the whole Entrepreneur's Operating System. So you could get a copy of that book, Dan, and then they have an EOS worldwide website where you can get tools to go with what you find in the book. So that's like bringing the dreaming in with the practical, having projects you're going to accomplish over the next period of time, and then you bring into that your income statement, your cash flow, your projections, so that you can look to hire people. That's how you start sliding those different pieces up. Hugh
Well, I
or
like that
Brad?
idea
Go
for
ahead.
the
No, that's
fact that,
good.
no, I was going to say, I like that idea for the fact, when I look, because when I talk about employees, I mean, I have guys that work at the school with me, so they're employees. And then when the biggest thing, I guess, is the retail part of it, my orders getting shipped out and the making and the production end. That's where I need to move into the employee part. But there's also, if say I get somebody to help me edit or shoot video with me, we have all these different employees doing different stuff. So how do I streamline that I know, we have this sector's running, they're all good. I can't have certain things happening everywhere, and then I'm all over the place. Where this would sort of say, okay, this is how we're going to manage everybody. So I like that idea a little bit. I'm going to look at that book.
We're getting like 10 minutes still. Brad, or anybody have any questions for like Dan? Glad you were in the spotlight for a moment there, so thanks. And I think it's just you have such a public face that it makes it really fun and easy to have people who haven't interacted with you a lot, like take a look at your business, put it under the microscope, and it's exciting to think of all the things that you could really do, and where you could go. And we can all go to the Filson store when you're signing autographs and be like, hey, we used to know that guy before he became untouchable.
Well, I was already a catalog model for Filson this past year. Did you see that picture?
I don't think I saw it. I know you go there and do things, which was really funny.
They came out and they did a photo shoot, and I was into catalog. So then I was like, I'm a catalog model. Sears is my next catalog. Not Sears, but
was your wife impressed by all that? Like,
yeah.
Oh, cool. Good.
Yeah.
Do you guys anybody have any questions, or we just kind of wrap up, or conversation points, or something you really wanted to add and you didn't get to, or?
Yeah, Dan, shoot out your website. I'd like to see what products you offer.
I was just going to ask that as well.
How can we find you, Dan?
So my company name is Cold Cracker Bushcraft, COALCRACKER Bushcraft. And people ask all the time, of course, I'm in the anthracite coal region here in Pennsylvania. So they call this cold cracker. So coldcrackerbushcraft.com is our website. Products are all on there. And then Cold Cracker Bushcraft is also our YouTube stuff. So if you want to check that out, that's where I'm at.
I'll send out an email that has all the links to the YouTube channel and his website and stuff too.
Your videos are entertaining.
Well, thanks. I try to make them short but entertaining. Like I try to get a good mix in there because I think what I like to watch, and I don't want to bore people to death. So that's good to hear.
We have 15 and 13-year-old girls in the house, and I was last week when they were here. I was watching YouTube videos, your YouTube videos, and the 15-year-old's like, "Oh, not these survival videos again." And then I noticed she was like playing some game or something on her phone. I noticed she's like watching. She doesn't realize that I noticed she's watching, but she's like paying attention and watching.
Yeah.
My wife loves Dan's son, so whenever he has a video, she's always like, I like watching his videos. I don't know about Dan's videos. I'm like, oh, that's all right. Thomas and I like going to.
He had to start his own channel now because he said he doesn't think that I deserve the silver play button for YouTube. So he started his own channel now. So he's up to 500 subscribers. So we'll see what happens with it.
It's cool. He's a lot of fun.
It definitely makes me want to spend more time in the woods.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing. That's what
One thing this pandemic has made me realize how weak I got over the last 5-6 years, just being a workaholic and not spending time out in the woods like I used to. So I've been at home trying to do things around my property. I'm like, man, I should not be tired this easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Well, all right. Dan, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks
it.
for having me. This was fun. Yeah.
Keep going.
I will.
I'll see you guys around.
Have a good day.
Yeah,
All
thanks
right,
a lot.
guys.
Thank you.
See yous.
Thanks.
Hey. Hold on. Do you want to remove Brad? Yes. Doesn't matter. Anyway, hey, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and I'll definitely tell Ron that you said hi, because I'm sure he's probably looking in one of the windows at this point, wondering why I'm doing it here.
Let me turn the recorder.